Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the Adepta Sororitas. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. So Games Workshop just put out the brand new Adepta Sororitas Codex, as well as the Genestealer Cult. What we've seen from the Genestealer Cult, which is already a very unpopular faction, has not been particularly great. But what we have seen from the Adepta Sororitas appears to be phenomenal. And the reason I want to focus in on this in specific is I feel like they're bringing back some of their mistakes of the past. Early in the edition, the Aeldari were absolutely broken. The main issues that they had were essentially their fate dice. And at the beginning of the game, you got to roll a handful of fate dice. You had a bunch of rerolls based on what was in your army. And then you got to use those dice throughout the game to replace dice instead of rolling them to guarantee results. And part of the problem is when you have a dice game, the randomness of the game is what makes it fun and also brings balance to it. The Adepta Sororitas also have a similar mechanic. You only start out with a couple of them at the beginning of the game, and then you build them up throughout the game. So you don't have nearly as much of an opportunity for like an initial alpha strike because you only have a couple of dice and you progressively get more and more as your army is destroyed. So rather than starting off extremely strong like the Aeldari, towards the end of the game, as you have fewer units left and you've built up more of these dice, they get stronger. And obviously, the more game pieces you have on the table, the more of these guaranteed results that you have, the stronger your army is going to be, and then you can sort of like snowball into a crushing defeat for your poor opponent. Well, with the new launch of the Codex and with the new rules that we've seen so far, it appears that Games Workshop has presented Sisters of Battle players with the opportunity to get exponentially more miracle dice, specifically using some of the new detachments, and I think this is going to be problematic. Now, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, tournament results will tell us, but the Adepta Sororitas is already very strong and it's been doing well in the tournament scene. They've been winning events, they've been placing in the top 10 consistently, and now with the new Codex on the horizon, we won't know the points quite yet. But in my opinion, from what it looks like so far, I think the Adepta Sororitas are going to be broken. And it doesn't help that a lot of the competitive players, a lot of the play testers that have input on what Games Workshop does, what's strong, what needs to be changed, are also Adepta Sororitas players. And don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on the Sisters of Battle because the Sisters of Battle are one of my main armies. I paint more Adepta Sororitas than probably anyone else on planet Earth. They are super cool, the models are absolutely amazing, and they're super popular. But I can also recognize when something is about to be in trouble. And by in trouble, I mean too good. And that is what I'm fully expecting from the Adepta Sororitas. So that being said, let's take a look at this article here, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the end and some of the issues with these fate dice. And the ability to be able to guarantee charges or do like 6s or 5s on your damage, automatically pass saves, and then the additional miracle dice are going to end up being a big problem. Starting an Adepta Sororitas army in Warhammer 40,000, everything you need to know from painting to lore. And you gotta love the art. Some of these new pieces of art released by Games Workshop, or at least some of the ones that they're showing off, are absolutely amazing and super thematic. I love it. Faith in the God Emperor is tangible force in the 41st millennia, as loyal citizens invoke the Master of Mankind to protect them from the aliens, mutant, heretics, and claw at their doors. Across countless worlds, zealous preachers carry the torch of the Imperial Creed to trillions of mortal souls. But when the pious come under attack, the horrors of the archenemy are met by a force of divine avengers who safeguard the Imperial with faith and fire. They are the Adepta Sororitas, a martial sisterhood of elite warriors, armed and armored with the devotion to the God Emperor. As much as their weapons and battle plate, their furious charges ring with beatific chorus, hearts swelling with spiritual fire. And few are the foes who can stand firm in the face of their overwhelming devotion. Here's everything you need to know if you're thinking of starting an army of these ardent defenders of faith. Alright, so we got 6 portions here, a little breakdown for the Adepta Sororitas 101, Adepta Sororitas Explain, the new combat patrol, painting, next steps, and then fiction. New to the world of Warhammer 40,000, this quickfire primer will get you up to speed with the pious warriors of the Adepta Sororitas. Who they are, how they look, and the way to play on the tabletop. And there's a cool little video right here, just kind of talking about the background and everything like that if you want to check it out. Then we have part 2, Adepta Sororitas Explained. Thousands of years before the present day of Warhammer 40,000, the Imperium was rocketed by a coup that left the Administratum and Ecclesiarchy under the control of an insane and megalomaniac demagogue, Gog Vundire. While consolidating control of the Imperium, he discovered an all-female cult that worshipped the Emperor through purity of spirit and strength of arms above all else, and relocated them to Terra to serve as his personal bodyguards. The cult, known as the Brides of the Emperor, defended Vundire from an uprising that joined many branches of the Imperium together against their mad leader. It is believed that, to convince Vandire's bodyguard of his treachery, a single custodian led their leader, Alicia Dominica, and her 5 most trusted sisters into the heart of the Imperial Palace to the Emperor's Golden Throne. None know what transpired, but upon leaving the Golden Throne's presence, Alicia Dominica strode into Vantire's throne room and beheaded him without hesitation. So a very cool little bit of grimdark lore. Obviously, again, just beautiful artwork right here. An awesome Celestine statue and the gathering of the sisters. Much in the look of like the old Space Marine art where the chapter was all lined up. As the turmoil of the Age of Apostasy began to recede, the Adepta Sororitas was reformed from a group to defend the Imperial's holy sites and wage wars of faith against heretics. Though the ecclesiarchy are no longer permitted to maintain a standing army, the nominally independent Adepta Sororitas are a convenient workaround and enjoy close ties with the servants of the Imperial Creed. In the years that followed, 6 orders coalesced around the teachings of Alicia Dominica and her 5 companions. Becoming the orders majoris, they comprise the bulk of the Adepta Sororitas forces. They can often be found accompanying imperial expeditions of all sizes, from humble processions of pilgrims to the mighty and ominous crusade fleets, where their obsessive dedication to the God Emperor inspired both awe and fear in their allies, for the fury of the sister in the face of their enemies is a terrible thing to behold. With the rise of the new Abbess Sanctorum, Morvenval, the Battle Sisters of the Adepta Sororitas are reinvigorated, bringing light to the darkest corners of the galaxy with fire and fervor. And here we see another cool piece of art with some Hospitallers. Very cool, a little Dialogus action. While they wear power armor and wield bolt guns like the Space Marines, the Adepta Sororitas are not genetically enhanced super soldiers. Rather, they are flesh and blood humans like most citizens, empowered by their ironclad faith for the Emperor to perform deific miracles and endure the harshest horrors of the galaxy can muster. The most renowned of their heroes are warriors belonging to the Orders Militant. Yet the sisters of non-militant orders are no less pious at their adherence to the Imperial Creed, or any less courageous in their willingness to face death in the course of duty. The Order's Hospitallers tend to the wounded on blood-drenched battlefields, often under heavy fire and horrific conditions, while those of the Order's Pronatus hunt and safeguard the many irreplaceable relics scattered throughout the God Emperor's dominion. So here we see a massive Sisters battle army lined up against some Nurgle. Very, very cool, the little parade of tanks coming out of the archway. The intense training and rigid discipline required to wear the mantle of the Battle Sisters puts them amongst the finest human soldiers in the galaxy, able to match Space Marines in feats of marksmanship while standing firm in the face of the abject horror. Though their aggressive ways of war that favor close-range weaponry and blood-close combat inevitably lead to significant attrition in their ranks, there is never a shortage of exceptional candidates from the Schola Progenum, an elite military academy catering to the orphanage of offspring of the Imperial's finest. On the tabletop, the Adepta Sororitas sit squarely between the uncountable masses of the Astra Militarum and the elites of the Adeptus Astartes. They can field more bodies encased in power armor than any other faction, however, and match the hardiness of the intense focus of short-range firepower through the holy trinity of bolt, flame, and melt weapons. They are extremely versatile force with powered armor vehicles based on the venerable Rhino chassis, which range from simple but effective tanks to giant mobile pipe organs that launch barrages of missiles with each crescendo. These well-ordered soldiers are not the only forces at their command. Legions of penitents who have committed crimes against the Imperial Creed can earn retribution for their sins on the battlefield, howling in shame and agony as they flail with whip-like whims or crush heretics underfoot in clanking mechanized war engines. The greatest of all are the champions who lead the Battle Sisters into war, in whom the Emperor's power manifests as true miracles. Some angelic figures, such as the living Saint Celestine, can even return from death. Such is their faith in the God Emperor, while others heal mortal wounds and banish the denizens of the warp with the righteous outpourings of divine fervor. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now, back to the video. So next we have the new Combat Patrol. Nice little box set right here. A Canoness, a Sister Squad, 5 Sacrosants, and then 10 of the Arco-Flagellants. Cool little box set. Nice amount of models in here to get started with. And a good diverse force. And then a little painting guide right here, which I have noticed that Games Workshop removed like the paint color and like actual guides from their website. I'm not sure why they took them down from the web store, but I have found quite a bit in the past that the actual paint schemes in the pictures did not match the colors that they listed underneath. So perhaps they're reworking that setup, but this little excerpt right here at least does appear to be correct. And then for portion 5, next steps, we have the new codex, which is due to be released very, very soon here. We'll also have the balanced status light and new points as well. I was really hoping that that would come out today, but there's still a good possibility it does come out tomorrow, at least based on the rumors. But the way it was worded from Games Workshop, it sounded like it's going to come out on Saturday with the new releases of the GSC and Adepta Sororitas codex, but I'm still holding out, hoping that it does come tomorrow. And then the last section, Part 6 Fiction, we have the Rose at War, The Triumph of St. Catherine, and Celestine. A bunch of cool little novels that are based on some very key characters throughout the range. Obviously, Celestine being massive, and Morvenn Vahl right on the horizon. And then, of course, we have the brand new book coming out with the brand new model as well. Super excited for that. And if you're into the lore, if you like the idea of like nuns in space, Adepta Sororitas is an awesome faction. And being one of the newer ranges, and then also just the sort of like grimdark gothic look of the range, I have to say this is probably my favorite overall model range and one of the most fun to paint. And then we have a little bonus, Part 7, Start Your Collection, with the new Combat Patrol, the Codex on the way, Morvenn Vahl, just amazing model and awesome character. And then, of course, we have like the full range as well. So I basically started off the video just talking a little bit about why I think the Adepta Sororitas are potentially going to be an issue. So let's talk a little bit more about that. As we see like the ramping up of miracle dice and more detachments that offer many ways to get additional miracle dice, multiple a turn, or allowing you to take away some of the restrictions, like one per phase, per unit, and then allowing you to do it potentially twice, having characters that generate additional miracle dice, and then also the majority of the Adepta Sororitas having a 6-up invulnerable save. It's going to allow you to keep key pieces alive from like big shots, specifically your vehicles, key models by auto-passing saves with your miracle dice, and then just the overall volume that's going to be available in the range of miracle dice. I think we're going to end up running into the same issue that we had with the Aeldari early in the edition. Your typical Adepta Sororitas army is going to have somewhere between like 15 or 20 units in it. Each time one of those units dies, you're going to get an extra miracle dice. You get one on your turn and then one on your opponent's turn as well. So that means on average, you're going to get at least like 20, potentially up to like 30 per game. As where with the Aeldari, initially, I believe you got like 12. And then you had the ability to reroll a couple. With the Adepta Sororitas, you have the ability to change some of those automatically to a 6. You have the ability to reroll some of them. You have the ability to gain extras throughout the game. So I don't think it's going to be unheard of for certain detachments to be able to get like 30 miracle dice available in a single game as they suffer attrition. And I really feel that this is going to be too much. One of the things I like the best about Warhammer 40,000 now is how quickly Games Workshop does updates, how balanced the game is, and the overall spread of factions that you see in top tournament results, specifically in like the top 10 or top 50. Nice mix of armies, different factions winning various events throughout the world. And with the big mix upcoming right now to the game, with the new data slate, the points updates, multiple new codexes over like the last month or so, and then also the new mission cards, I have a feeling it's going to take a little while for the meta to balance, but I think at the top of that meta is going to be Adepta Sororitas. Now, one good thing about the regular changes is Games Workshop will likely change this 3 months out if it does become a problem, but I think the next 3 months, Adepta Sororitas are going to immediately shoot to the top. They were already one of the highest ranked factions. They were already performing extremely well. You get a ton of bodies. They have 3-up power armor. They have very strong vehicles. And the miracle dice element is a very similar mechanic to what we had issues with early in the edition, like we did with the Aeldari Fate dice. So let me know what you think of the Adepta Sororitas. Let me know what you think of my arguments for why Adepta Sororitas are going to be an issue, and giving them too many miracle dice is not a good idea for the game. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. And as always, special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man. And while I do think the Fate dice are going to break the game wide open, I have faith in the God Emperor of Mankind, and I guess Games Workshop too, to make adequate changes if it does become an issue. And I'm out of here.